Well, in his first interview since the controversial departure from Merrill Lynch, former brokerage chief Robert McCann spoke with me exclusively on Friday at the Irish Global Economic Forum. Now, McCann hasn't been back at work in the banking industry for the past 8 months, and he says that during that free time, he has gained some perspective on the financial industry, including some strong views on what regulatory reform should look like.
I think that the Congress in the United States needs to give a clear mandate to the Securities and Exchange Commission, to Mary Shapiro, to rebuild new regulation, a new regulatory effort, new rules in the United States affecting individual investors. And I think it should be a set of rules that if you are in the business of advising individual investors, whether you're at a broker-dealer or you're at an advisory firm, one set of rules for everybody. And let's not fight about definitions of what is fiduciary, what isn't. Let's have a new set of rules that reflect today and going forward. You do that, and you have the people who run the companies, who really run their businesses to focus on investors and getting that trust back. We're going to get investors back in the market, and that's what we need to do.
Your former boss, John Thain, in the headlines again.
Right.
Certainly a fascination with his personality and a lot of talk there. Do you think he's been fairly treated in the press?
I actually don't. I think that John Thain, when he came to Merrill Lynch, faced an incredibly difficult situation. Do I think that John made every right move that he could have to benefit Merrill Lynch? No, I don't. No, we disagreed on some things. But John Thain is not a bad person. John Thain is not a bad man. He's a smart man who did the best he could at the time. It wasn't enough to save our company. And as somebody who worked at Merrill Lynch from when he was 23 to 50, that makes me sad. You know, some things that he did, whether it's his office or other things like that, I think have been given far too much attention, where some of the substance of the person.
When you look at private wealth right now, there's been tremendous amount of consolidation within the industry. When you look at that industry and how it's changed over the last few months, I mean, what is it going to look like in another 6 months?
So much of what I see now in the wealth management space is companies talking about how big they are, talking about size and scale. And that biggest problem is our clients don't trust us. And size and scale, while may be good for shareholders, doesn't do anything for a client. So I think that we have to refocus the industry on making sure that we deliver for the client.
You mentioned the industry consolidation and having some of those private wealth firms getting even bigger.
Right.
Does that size need to be looked at? I mean, should it be more of a move towards boutique type private wealth management?
Well, I've thought a lot about that. The Wall Street I joined in 1982 out of business school was a Wall Street where there were some big firms, but there was a role for the boutique. I think you're going to see that again. You're already seeing that again in investment banking. I think you're going to see it again in the wealth management space as well. We're having some challenges now. We'll get through those challenges, but it's a growth industry, and that can happen in a big firm or it can happen in a smaller firm. But too much talk these days about size and scale and not enough about delivering for clients.
Interesting to see James Gorman take the helm at Morgan Stanley to replace John Mack when he steps down. So I would say that's a clear signal that the move is going to be more towards focusing on the retail part of the business, less on the banking perhaps, less on the trading perhaps. Do you think that's going to be not just a Morgan Stanley story, but really a broader financial services story?
I don't know. Look, I think James Gorman is a talented executive who happens to have had his experience over the last 10 years in the wealth management space. I still think there is a place for the integrated firm that operates in the capital markets as well as in wealth management or investment management. But as we were talking about a second ago, I think there's a space and a place right now, and an important place, for a firm that is dedicated to the wealth management space, that doesn't have some of the conflicts, the natural conflicts, which can be managed, but to say they're not there is not intellectually honest. So I don't think what happened at Morgan Stanley necessarily happens across the board, but we need good leaders right now in financial services. That's very clear.
Well, McCann also says that banker bonuses should not be regulated, though they should be better aligned with long-term risk.